steam coming out of these trucks is awesome. Take a look at this log truck in front of me. That's awesome. Look at all the steam coming out of the smokestacks. Anytime this guy presses the gas, tons and tons of steam. Blinkers on that trailer are not working, just the truck. I can see it underneath it. And here goes the truck turning into the sawmill. I bet the steam is going to look awesome. Hey everyone, it is the morning of February 3rd, 2023. It is currently -9 degrees outside. And you saw me start up the car. It had a little bit of a rough start. It's pretty cold out. It showed on the dashboard -1, but as soon as you get going, it usually drops down even further. So it's about -8 right now. And we are headed up to northern Maine. We're gonna set up a camp in the middle of nowhere. We're gonna go out onto some remote logging roads, like 50 miles or so away from any signal. Pretty far out there. Today's high temperature is going to be about 5. Tonight we're supposed to get down to around -28, which is very cold. I'm glad we're finally getting weather like that. It came late this year, but it looks like it's finally here for a couple days. Tomorrow's high temperature is unbelievable. -9. That's what it's supposed to be. That is so cool. Oh, we're circling back into Maine again. Yeah, that's going to be pretty cool. This is going to be our coldest winter camp, I believe, we've done so far. It's so cold out, it's amazing when you go by people's houses, the gigantic plumes of steam coming out of the chimneys, plumes of steam coming out of the exhaust pipes on the tractor trailers. Just so much steam because it's so cold out. It's so cold out that my -30 windshield wiper fluid was freezing on contact with the windshield. It's just because I was driving so fast. The wind going over it just instantly froze it. Slowed down a little bit, it melted and went away. You know, usually I think something like a heated steering wheel is kind of unnecessary, but today, for the first 20 minutes of being in the car, I felt like I was going to get frostbite just from holding on to the steering wheel. Also, this is one of those mornings that I had to drive for like 25 minutes to even get the engine up to temp. Alright, I just went by a log truck, and they're only steaming like that when they got their foot on the gas. When that guy let off, I could see there was so much ice secretion built up on the guard of that log trailer. It looks so awesome. The sun is finally up. Alright everyone, can you see all that steam over there? That giant line of it? That is the river. The river has not frozen yet. And it is so warm, that water, it's making a huge cloud. We just pulled up alongside the river. You can't see the steam as much when we're this close, but take a look at that. There is so much frazzle ice and ice sheets going by, but yet it's so cold out, even this half-frozen river is making steam. Wow, I had to stop to show you this. You see that giant cloud in the sky? It's being created by this, the wood-burning power plant. We're in Rumford Falls, Maine. And you can also see the waterfall right there making all that mist right next to that bridge. I had to pull over and take a look at this because I don't know if we're going to get another good view of this. Anytime I drive by here, that wood-burning power plant is making big plumes of smoke, but this time it's mixed with so much steam. Look at that cloud. Wow, this does look really awesome. We're now approaching that bridge I just showed you. Look at all the steam coming off of the waterfall. I wonder how icy this sometimes gets from that. The only other time I've ever seen this was at Niagara Falls. Wow, look at these gigantic clouds it's making, the power plant. If it wasn't for this, we would have clear blue skies at the moment. Take a look at them dumping out this big rig trailer. Got the bulldozer down there spreading out the wood chips. So a lot of the steam is coming from wood chips like a big compost pile. Take a look at all this steam right here. That looks kind of cool. All right, everyone, now that we're getting further up north, the roads are deteriorating because salt does not work in these cold temperatures. All they can do is put gravel and sand on top of it to give you traction. Right, these roads, it depends where you are. Some places, despite being so cold, are showing a little bit of melt. But for the most part, this road is pretty slippery. Too cold for salt to work. We're about to leave the pavement in about a mile or so. Logging roads, let's see how bad they are. I'm expecting them to not be bad. They're only bad if you get a day of thawing and then it refreezes and it's a sheet of ice. It got really snowy now. All right, the place that I was gonna go to stay the night is here to the right. That road you can see is not plowed. It is a snowmobile trail at the moment, but it is not plowed. But that's all right. We can do camping videos here late winter after there's a big thaw enough where we can go down there. So I'm gonna turn around, and I have a few other places that we're gonna go ahead and try. They're not logging here obviously this year, so they didn't plow it. All right, I just spun it around. That is really weird that it's not plowed because there's houses down there. I guess if they want to get to their winter house, they're gonna have to pay someone to plow it themselves. I always assumed it would be plowed. All right, we're up pretty far. I would not be surprised if we only saw a couple cars for the next few hours on this road. We're out in the middle of nowhere. Just got to be careful not to slide. But it's not very slippery today. I just got to keep my speed around 30 and I should be fine. Now this road here, if we got like one day of melting and then it refroze, then you would need tire chains because it would turn to a sheet of ice. Tell the snow is very deep here, and I'm probably driving over like half a foot of packed snow from the big trucks. Here's a log truck. There's a lot of logging activity today because in the winter they're more active since the machinery won't sink into the swamps. Everything's frozen. It's much easier to log. The only downside is the cold. It's currently 8. All right, now this far up, I can tell they did not plow the couple inches of snow we got earlier this week. Now I want to be very careful here because I know that there's multiple feet of snow on the ground. If I swerved, to my right is a massive drainage ditch. Would not get out of that. We got pretty far out here now. I'd say we're 30 miles away from the nearest signal or anything. There's a decent amount of snow. There's probably 2 feet. We're probably gonna need some snowshoes. So now I'm gonna try to find a place that we can park. A couple areas the snowplow plowed like 20 feet deep into some of the roads that aren't open. And as soon as we find one that doesn't have snowmobilers parked at it, I'm gonna use that, and then we're gonna go out in the woods and try to find an area with a couple dead trees we can cut down for tonight. I did buy 1 bundle of firewood at the store just to supplement if we can't find anything good enough to run the heater through the night. Now this road we're on now, you can probably tell there's not many tracks in it because you can see where the snow fell a couple days ago on the edges and hasn't really got packed down. Only a couple vehicles go down this every day in the winter. All right, everyone, this is where we're gonna try to camp tonight. You see, years ago, right in front of me was the main road, but because it kept washing out repeatedly every year, the companies moved the main artery here to the left. So they no longer plow this. It's completely impassable and they won't use it again until the spring. So we're gonna park right here. Yep, we're just gonna park right here. No one else is gonna use this road. It's plowed in. It's gonna stay right here. Turn the heat on for a minute, warm up. Then I'm gonna get my stuff together. I think I'm gonna get the snowshoes on first and go for a walk in the woods, see where I wanna do this. Then I'm gonna take a snow shovel and I'm gonna clear out an area. Then I'm gonna set up my camp. Then I'm gonna actually backfill the snow back against the tarp and it'll make a good seal by the ground so no air can get out. Right now it's currently 10 degrees, but if it actually gets down to -30, we're gonna need this thing to be as airtight as possible. All right, everyone, it's really cold. It's also very quiet. It's gonna be a peaceful night. We're not going to be hearing any traffic, maybe the occasional car every couple hours. But I've driven out here for days at a time without passing a single other car. Now look at this. There's like 2 feet of snow out there. The only thing I see are a couple sets of coyote tracks, and I don't think they're going to bother us. The smell of a human, they're not going to even try going near the camp. Now, any leftover food, I'm going to make sure I leave it away from it a little bit. I'm not exactly sure where I'm camping, so I'm going to walk out there now, figure that out. I got my snowshoes on at the moment. I'm going to go out there with a snow shovel. When I find the right spot, I'm going to dig it out. Then I'm going to come back, and I have 2 toboggans in the back of the car loaded up with supplies. I just have to get them out. Unfortunately, I have to unload them and then reload them because my hatchback has been broken for like the past week. It's some kind of electrical failure because it has a button you push that opens it, then you lift it up. It's not a power tailgate or anything, but something electrical failed. I'm going to have to get that fixed maybe next week. All right, so let's head out. I'm probably only going to walk maybe half a mile away from the road. Not that far. I am going to make 3 trips in, and that's basically 3 round trips just to get everything out. In the morning, it's going to be 2 round trips to get everything back. All right, here we go. We're heading out. So I just walked not that far, only about 5 minutes in, and I already found a good little spot. There were some spots on the way in. I sunk so deep despite the snowshoes because there's like hollow pockets everywhere because there's bushes underneath the snow. There's about 2 feet on the ground now. So this is where we're gonna camp. Wow, I sink so deep. I could not get out here without the snowshoes, unless I was wearing my big high boots. But that is so much work, plowing through snow like this. But with snowshoes, it's a little awkward, but at least you're up on top of it. Whoa! Like that. I just sunk way past my knee. All right, so I just shoveled out a square that's probably, I'd say, 6 by 8, 6 by 10 feet or so. So now I'm gonna go back to the vehicle and get what I need. Alrighty, this is load number 1. I have another toboggan in the vehicle I'll come back for after. This is enough to get the camp set up. Toboggan number 2 has the food and bedding. Now, I brought this stove because I have a smaller one, but I didn't think it would be adequate enough for this cold weather. This has a pretty big firebox, and this one can actually fit that full-size wood. I bought one bundle of wood at the store on the way here, just in case we weren't able to find something, but I don't think that's gonna be a problem now that we're out here and I see there's a good amount. You see I got the handsaw right here, brand new, that's nice and sharp. We should be able to cut up enough stuff before it gets dark. Alright everyone, so I'm coming back 2 days later to complete this camp because something came up and I had to leave. So we'll be doing it tonight. Tonight is almost as cold as it was a couple nights ago. The roads have become way more slippery today, so I have to take it really easy out here. More vehicles going by, packing it down. Heavy log trucks has packed the snow into more of an ice. Also, usually when I'm out here, I don't see that many deer. I never really see any deer in northern New England, at least the areas I go to. I usually see more moose than anything else, and even that they are rare. Today I saw so many deer that were just in the road. I think it's because the snow is so deep, it's easier for them to walk in the road, so they use it. Like you see right next to me, it doesn't look like much, because on the sides of me, those are drainage ditches. They plowed the snow into the drainage ditch, so it doesn't seem like there's much. But if I went off the road here, I know from summertime, that ditch over there is like 4 feet deep. I'm not getting out of that if I fall off this road. Also, I gotta say, it's probably a good thing that I wasn't out here 2 days ago. Reason is, it was extremely windy and I probably would have been trapped out here for a day because so many giant trees I could see are cut up that fell across these roads. Usually on public roads, the chemicals and dirt they put down make it really dark and dirty looking, but out here, it's really easy to get snow blind. And it's sometimes hard to tell where the edge of the road is because everything's white, nothing got dirty. All right, everyone, we have just arrived. Let me start packing up the toboggans and we'll get back out to that campsite. As you can see, 2 days later, not a single set of tracks coming up here. And look, it's the only set of tracks right here was me the other day. All right, so pull over right here, enough just like last time, so a vehicle could possibly get by if they had to. But no one's gonna use that road until the spring, honestly. All right, we're coming back out. Out here, it may not seem like it, but there's over 2 feet of snow on the ground, so without snowshoes, would not be pleasant coming out here. And you see right here, there's a little drifting of snow, so I'm hoping I don't have to dig back out the hole. It may have got filled in if it was windy enough. All right, everyone, we are back to the camp right here. No, it did not fill back in, but there's tons and tons of pine needles all over the place because it was windy, and there's a couple tree branches here, which I will break up and use as kindling to start our fire. And then I have a handsaw. I'm going to go around. I identified a bunch of dead branches and trees I'm going to cut. This is no longer needed. I decided that I'm going to set up a actual tent instead of a tarp. I was just going to put a tarp over this. The ends of the tarp were cut so it could be closed like triangles over the doors. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I just brought out a tent because it's going to be so hot. I'd rather have something that I know should be able to keep a lot of heat. I'm going to walk a few hundred feet away from the camp and find a little bathroom spot. It's so quiet out here except for the occasional snowmobile in the distance. Beautiful mountain range out here. And here from camp, we have a large line of sight because of all the logging. All right, so I just noticed that right here, I've walked so much, I'm so packed down. Whoa, see, as soon as I go off of my little trail, I sink like crazy. But if I'm on where I've trampled a few times, I can actually walk, but there's no walking back to the vehicle without the snowshoes. So I took the snowshoes off to make my life easier because they're hard to maneuver in. So I got this tent right here I'm going to set up. This is the cheapest hot tent online. It was $95 on Amazon, and it is compatible with this stove right here. This is the biggest exhaust pipe it can have. It can have smaller ones. I actually have a stove half this size. I didn't bring it because I'm afraid that it won't be able to produce enough heat because tonight's going to be way down in the negative temperatures again. So I brought the big one so I can put a whole bunch of wood in there to ensure it stays hot throughout the night. This I have proven twice before. It stays hot throughout the entire night because it has a big firebox. So this I set up last night in the living room of my house to make sure I could do it very easily. Yes, it's extremely simple to put up. You can put this entire tent up in 5 minutes if you're good at it. And it comes down in the same amount of time. It's the easiest tent I've ever had. It's made for up to 2 people. And I also brought one bundle of firewood that I purchased because I can't bring my own firewood because I know my property is infested with invasive bugs. Also, it's extremely illegal to bring firewood over state lines. So I bought this. It's from the store up here. You don't want to know how much that cost. It's unbelievable. This is the floor of the tent. Here's my saw, because this right here is basically enough to only start the fire. That saw is because there's a good amount of trees that have like a 4-inch diameter that are dead. I'm gonna get a bunch of wood out of them and I can just throw it in. I don't even have to split it. It's so dry, it'll burn really nice and cook our dinner and heat our place. Paper towels are for cleaning up dinner or going in the woods to poop. All right, everyone, so the first thing I gotta do is get these sticks out of here. But I'm not gonna throw them far, because they're gonna be good kindling for me. This is a tiny little tent. It'll fit right in this space nicely. Comes with instructions here. Can you guys see how simple they are to set this up? Extremely simple instructions. That'll be to help our fire start up. The first thing we got is the tent pole. It only has one pole in the middle to hold it up. Easy to assemble. And it basically just balances on the top of it. That is as simple as it gets. It came with tent spikes because that's what stabilizes it. You have to stake it into the ground at all the corners of the teepee. I knew the rope was going to come in handy. That's why I left this here. That's going to help me stake it down. Let me get my hammer. All right, so the tent comes with a bunch of these little stakes right here. Extremely lightweight. This would be so easy to go backpacking with, especially if you had one of those collapsing stoves. Yeah, look at this stuff. It would have been so easy to move this stuff if my hatchback was working. Unfortunately, it's broken at the moment. So I have to unload everything to get these out of the back seat because it can't get out of the door with it there. So, and also if I was doing this way deeper in the woods, I would have just hitched these things together and I could have pulled all this with my own power. Nothing here is heavy. It's mostly bedding, a tarp. The only heavy thing is the stove. But the reason I decided to bring it all out now I literally don't have to go back to the car for any reason. I needed the snow shovel, as you could see from that struggling time lapse. You see, this is the best we could set the tent up. I have to shovel out more of this because the tent is too big to fit in this spot. And if I do it like this, I'm going to be miserable because there's barely any space in there for anything to happen. So here's another time lapse of me shoveling out and putting this thing in properly. That dead tree was in the way. I just ripped the whole tree out of the ground. All right, everyone, here is a overhead view standing on top of this snow pile. It looks pretty good. We set it up nicely, except that one side. It has to be a little bit collapsed because there's just not enough room with that tree right there. And that's a living tree, so I'm not going to cut that one down for no reason. Over here, that tree that was slanted, somehow it got partially uprooted and it was dead. So I just cut it off at the stump. And that thing's perfectly dry. There's tons of kindling on the end of that tree that I'm going to bring the toboggan over there, fill it up. Yeah, I think I'm going to take at least one of the toboggans before it gets dark, bring it around here, and fill it up completely with firewood. The majority of it, I want it to be these bigger logs, so I'm going to spend an hour or two just cutting logs for the overnight. So this thing here, I realized if you have enough space to set it up, you do not need these guide wires as much unless it is windy. And just like the reviews said, all the pictures online showed, there are small gaps on the bottom. Not worried about that at all. The stove is going to stay hot. I have my sleeping bag. If it really got bad, I could backfill some of this against the grooves on the bottom. That's the good thing about winter camping. Snow is an insulation. Yes, I even found when I was digging, I removed 2 feet of this thick snowpack, but yet I still in that corner found mud. So it acted like an insulation, so the mud was still flexible under there. So that was a little problem with putting in some of the tent stakes. Yep, if this tree wasn't here, this tent would be set up perfectly. But that doesn't bother me. All right, let's see how spacious it is. We got warmer weather coming up this week in the 40s, so there's going to be some melting. But as soon as it gets cold again, I want to try setting this up somewhere else. And next time we're going to do it in a more open area. But it's always good to be in a tree line like this because it keeps the wind off you. So this is kind of awkward. You got to bend way over the tent to get to the zipper. If you're not good at balance, you could fall right over to it. Now, I zipped this thing up before. Now, you gotta be careful when you're zipping it up. See, it just happened there. It repeatedly happens. You have to be very careful because the zipper catches this lip extremely easily. All right. This is kind of cool. See the Velcro? This sticks right up here, and that's your intake for the stove in the ceiling. And the ceiling here is usually the hottest part of the tent. So it draws there, and it kind of pushes it down towards you, which is awesome. Right here is the exhaust pipe. So you got this flap. We're just going to wind that up and clip it there. We come inside, and yes, this is definitely spacious enough. With the big stove right there, it's going to be right here. You could put a sleeping bag on each side of it, definitely. Now, you can't stand up in here, but we don't need to. I'm just going to sit on my bed and make some dinner. So now from the inside, you really can't even tell that it's misshapen on this side a little bit. This is going together good. All right, let's install the stove. Now in this cold weather, you got to be careful what you touch if your hands are slightly damp at all. When it's this cold, your fingers will stick to anything. I don't have gloves on because I'm not cold, but if I go and touch anything metal and my hands are damp because I just touched snow, you can kind of get them stuck to it. And if you touch something, it kind of feels like you're touching liquid nitrogen because it's transferring that freezing right into you. Yep, it's the same idea as if you lick a metal pole in the winter. You're not going to get your tongue off of that without losing skin. Well, that's why we need snowshoes if I leave the camp. Got the stove. All right, it's gonna go right here. How are we gonna get that to fit up to the chimney? All right, everyone, so the stove, inside here are all the pipes. Got the scraper, the poker, the chimney cap. Oh, there's soot. This right here is the bottom piece, which has the damper. Make sure the damper's straight, because sometimes these get messed up and you can't tell what it's actually doing in there. We're all good. Put that on. More chimney pieces. This stove comes with 5 of them. I absolutely love this stove, and I'll link it in the description if any of you guys want it. It had gaskets, but they fall off immediately because it has non-heat proof double-sided tape. Every review talks about that, but it does not matter. Most camping stoves don't have gaskets, and it's sucking air from the holes. It's also going to be sucking it in through the crack, so no smoke will come into your structure. Also, the other thing that is wrong with it, immediately the paint started chipping off. Eventually, that's going to happen to any wood stove, but this one unfortunately happened the first time. But it's heavy duty, and it's made by Guide Gear. It's got these heavy cast iron pipes. Pipes do actually build up a lot of creosote, which is not a big deal, but you sometimes have trouble pulling them apart because it like glues the pipes together. Maybe it's just because I'm burning pine and stuff, but I'm going to try using a creosote sweeping log in my next video to see if it actually cleans this, if it's worth doing or not when you get home. Now, other people are saying, why are the pipes in backwards on your camp stove, unlike on a house? Well, the reason camp stoves have the pipes going backwards is because if they were going this way, water would get in through the cracks if it was raining out. And being this way, creosote will dribble out. That's what these lines are, but it seals itself. That's why it's like glue getting these things apart afterwards. Time to mess around with the hole in the ceiling. I already loosened up the Velcro. We'll fix that up from the outside. We just got to get our pipe through. See that? The pipe fits nicely. This is one of the bigger diameter pipes for a camping stove, so it works good. Unless you're someone who has one of those massive camping tents where you use 6 or 8 inch pipes, typically that would be more glamping, and you would drive your vehicle to where you're setting it up. You wouldn't walk in the woods like this 10, 20 minutes steep. All right, everyone, we're on the outside. So it looks like we're gonna curl this thing up. There's a tiny little elastic thing right here that you're gonna go ahead and put through this loop, and that's what holds it. And there's a little heat shield that stops the pipe from getting too close to that. This thing looks kind of awesome. It's got an 8-foot tall chimney. Time to get all of our stuff inside. I think tonight's going to be a good night. I'm not going to use the tarp as a floor liner. I'm not actually going to use a floor liner. I don't think I really need one. And I don't think I need a sleeping bag either, but my idea may change later on. Currently out here, we're at about 15 degrees. Not that cold, but tonight we're supposed to fall back to about -5. Not the worst night, and again, like I said when I was driving, I got very lucky. Right now is the slightest little breeze. It's so perfect. Even though it's pretty cold out, it's not bothering me one bit. I don't need gloves. I don't even need this winter jacket. Typically, if I was working hard, I would have taken this off a long time ago. But when you're out in the middle of nowhere like this, don't overwork yourself when it's cold, because if you start sweating, it's possible then you could freeze to death, especially if there's wind. I don't think there's going to be much wind tonight, but if I would have camped out here 2 days ago like the original plan, that day there was 60-mile-an-hour winds, and there was a -65-degree wind chill out here. That night would have been extreme. But, like I said, there was a lot of fallen trees, so... And I would have been fine here. All that fell here was branches. But tonight is going to be another cold night, about -5. That night, it got down to about -40. Still a pretty nice night for camping. I like doing it on these colder nights. I don't like it when it's wet outside. I like it when it's like this, really cold, and you don't have to worry about bears. The only thing around here is coyotes or a bobcat, and it's unlikely that would mess with you, especially when it smells you. I see a squirrel out there. So I have a trail camera that I'm going to set up, not because I'm wondering what might come by. Probably nothing's going to come by. There's no animal tracks out here at all, except a coyote trail that I went across when I came in. But other than that, I'm just going to put the time-lapse camera up because who knows, maybe we'll get a good sunrise in the morning. Now, I don't think I'm going to need my sleeping bag either, especially with this larger stove running all night. I think I'm just going to use a blanket, and if I do get chilly, I can just come outside and get the sleeping bag. So, you see that I dug out about 2 feet of snow all around this thing. That's not the bottom of the snow. As you see, for a couple of the anchors of the tent, I had to dig down further until I could hit something. You see, I right there jammed it into some piece of wood, but as you can see where the shovel is, it goes down another foot below the floor inside here. So there's actually about 3 feet of snow on the ground now. I didn't realize that because I dug down till I hit hard, which I thought, no, it's just very packed snow. There must have been a thaw. It melted a little bit, refroze rock hard, and then we got 2 feet of snow on top of it. So coming on into the tent, yeah, this far away from the stove typically doesn't get scalding hot, so this probably won't be a problem. We come inside. I did buy 1 bundle of firewood just to get it going because I was concerned that I wouldn't be able to find some. But that was the first day I came out, and it's obvious that there's a good amount of wood right here. This is my breakfast right here. In my toothbrush bag. Paper towels, hand warmers. Not that cold now, but it might be in the morning while picking up. You see, perfect amount of space for my bed. And if we centered this thing correctly, like put the stove in a slightly different position, you could definitely fit a second bed in here for a second person. Here's my water for drinking and cooking tonight. Tonight, I'm just going to be very simple. I brought some broth, a couple seasonings. We're just going to have some nice soup in here. Very nice. Nice relaxing night sipping on soup. Here's my lighter. Here's a thermometer that I'm going to probably zip tie to this pole in here so we can monitor how hot it is. And got my flashlight, power banks, all that kind of stuff. This was paper that I got on discount today. And just in case we were in an area where I couldn't find anything to start a fire well with. Because this time of year when the ground has this much snow, you can't really find the kindling that is needed to start a hot fire. But we're not going to need that because there's a birch tree with a good amount of it shedding off. We're just going to take a few pieces of that without hurting the tree. Do not rip it off a living tree. If it's peeling, you can cut off the little peeling part. If you find a dead tree, then there you go. I can just cut that stuff right off. It starts fires really good because there's so much oil in it. It burns with thick black smoke and it smells like diesel as it burns. Lots of natural oils inside of that. All right, so I think I'm going to get the snowshoes back on and take that saw, walk around, and cut some firewood. I'm going to bring it back in these little longer lengths just because it's starting to get dark and we're running out of time. And then I can cut it up inside of here as I'm cooking, because if I'm out here cutting with this saw constantly like this, I'm going to heat up and start sweating a whole bunch. It doesn't really matter if I start sweating inside there because I can easily dry off in these cold temperatures. We'll take another temperature reading out here in a little bit to see what it's dropped down to. Like I said, right now it's around 15 degrees. But tonight's supposed to get colder. It's so quiet. My whole time out here, I've not heard one car. Not one car has gone by on that road where I parked. That's how rural this area is. I told you only a few cars use that road every day this time of year. Maybe a couple log trucks. If you hear that humming in the distance, that's not a highway. It's a snowmobile. There are a lot of snowmobiles out here in the wilderness going around having fun. Look at that beautiful view. Sun is starting to go down. Got 3 feet of snow on this road. All right, we're all set. It's still winter time. That's why it's already getting dim, but it won't be totally dark for another 2 hours. So I just went ahead and cut off the end of the strap, and I burned it with a lighter so it couldn't fray, or melted it with a lighter, because that was kind of annoying, that little strap. I'm never going to use that, so I cut them off. And when I get back, got a couple snacks for after dinner. Lotion, because my hands always get pretty bad out here. But I'm going to take this toboggan with the trail camera, saw, and gloves, and we're going to try to collect a whole bunch of firewood. You know, usually I would just take my foot and snap this in half. Can't do it with the snowshoes, and trying to break this thing. There we go. I really like this, that the tree is loose, because I'm able to do this. It's way easier. Just, I'm not moving the saw, I'm moving the tree. I feel like that's way faster for me. If you guys can tell, I'm running out of energy. It's been a long day. Wow, we just stumbled across a gold mine worth of wood about 100 feet away from camp. Yeah. So look at this birch tree. Completely dead. So we can peel off so much bark to start our fire. Anything we can't peel off, you just slice the tree with a knife, and the tree's dead, so it'll peel off with such ease. But this tree went through a lot of stuff. See, this big branch broke off, and if you look carefully, you can see the tree tried to heal around that injury, but it didn't make it. The top part of it looks like it lived on for a while after this section broke off, but it also looks very infested with bugs. I think it's the weird sun angle right now, but look, as it passes through the snow, doesn't it look blue down in those holes? The snow is so deep in certain areas, and it's like on top of bushes, so there's hollow cavities everywhere. That's when you see me sink super deep. There's hollow pockets everywhere. There's obviously a lot of deer around here too, because there's a whole bunch of trees, little pine trees. They're so weak looking because they've been completely defoliated by deer and stuff eating them. All right, we can't get giant sheets off, but this is even better. The tree recently died, meaning the bark is the best. A tree that is living or recently died, the bark that it drops on the ground has so much oil in it and is so flammable, it's awesome. Even if you take it off a tree that's 10 years old, it'll burn. It even burns when it's wet, but not as well. The fresher, the better. And this is very fresh and plentiful. These tiny little pieces that are like tissue paper feeling are the best for starting a fire. So we got a lot of firewood now. Good amount of logs kindling. These two pieces, one of them's like 10 feet, one's like 6 feet. I'm gonna drag both of those back to the camp, and I'm gonna slowly pull them in through the door as I cut them up while I'm making dinner. Do it slowly. And if we need more, right here, I can drag those. They appear to be loose, or I think I could easily loosen them and drag them back also if I realize I'm running out in the middle of the night. We have a pretty nice sunset, not the worst. Looking over at a good mountain range. The sun is actually setting over here behind these trees. It's a little bit orange. Who knows, the sky might get way better. Sometimes that happens. So I just brought back 4 good sized lengths of tree. This one has about a 4-inch diameter. The rest of them have about 2 or 3-inch diameter. And we have a good amount of logs in the toboggan. So we probably have half the night's worth of wood at least already cut up. I'm going to show you what I mean as far as there are hollow pockets all over the place. Watch as I walk. I'm going to fall into one because you see all the raspberry bushes and tiny trees growing back after the logging. Well, the snow gets stuck on this, so some spots you randomly are going to sink. Let me try to find one of those places. See, like that. Look at that. My foot just sank down to my knee. Gotta be careful when you're walking over this kind of stuff. We're gonna have a good time camping out here in the summertime. Because a place like this, you see, I walked in here to this logging road and out maybe 10 minutes to where the car is parked. In the summertime, I could pull the car right in here. It's literally a dead end because the log truck would back in here, and all these like kind of roads you see were made by the log skid, bringing them to the truck. And when they log, they have a machine that strips the branches off because they just want the logs. They don't want anything else. So if we were to come to a place like this in the summer, there would be so much kindling on the ground all over the place. Be fantastic. Now here in the state of Maine, the way the law works is if there is snow on the ground or it is raining, there is no fire permit required. In the summertime, I would have to get a fire permit to light up like this. I think. I don't know if a wood stove is an exception or not because it's contained. Probably not. But in the summertime, I'm probably not going to be using the wood stove. I'm going to make an actual fire outside the tent and cook that way. All right, this whole area here has been packed down so much from me walking around. I have a good kind of packed down trail over there to the bathroom. So I don't need the snowshoes until morning when I'm ready to pack up. We got everything here, so I can go ahead and take them off. Loosen that up. I was like, oh no, when I noticed I broke that today. But that is nothing like that structural. That just helps spread out my weight a little bit. It probably broke because these are from my father, and he bought them from, I think, a thrift store or something like a decade ago. So they're very old, so that would make sense why they're a little bit brittle. I love the squeaky snow when it's really cold out. That was a mistake. I'm gonna go grab that and move it somewhere else. That big tree is probably in the way. You see my trail camera back there? I was hoping to get a time lapse of the sun going down and coming back up with the tent in it, but I need to move that somewhere else. All right, I just moved the trail camera. It's gonna make us a 10-second video every 5 minutes. Then we can splice all those together and time lapse it. That's how you get a nice smooth time lapse. Not it taking a picture every now and then. Making little video clips goes together so much better. See, it's aimed a little bit downwards. Maybe we want it up a little more. Adjust it with a shim in the back. Just want it facing over towards the campsite. That looks perfect. And everyone, like I said, you can't be out here without snowshoes. I thought that I could move the trail camera here without the snowshoes, being a little lazy. Now, as soon as I get back, I have to get this out of my boot. But this is what happens. Wow, look how nice and blue it is. The way the sun is going through it. Yeah, this is 3 feet of snow. Wow, past my knee. Standing up, it looks like there's a tree under there. All right, that's a really good angle now. So that's gonna get the nice sunset. It's gonna get in the morning, getting light. You're gonna see probably some smoke because we're about to get the fire going now. I'm just happy that all 3 feet of this snow isn't soft, because then I'd be going down over my waist. All right, we're back to stable ground. It's like caked in there. Also, in these cold temperatures, the rubber boots aren't as flexible, so they're a little harder to get off. That's okay, I can take my sock off inside the shelter and dry it off. Cannot get the shoe off unless I get the snow out of the top. There we go. I'm just showing you guys what happens when you're lazy. It would have taken me less time to put the snowshoes on than it would have to deal with this. Absolutely silent out here in the middle of nowhere, except the slight hum of the occasional snowmobile. That's the only thing I've heard. I've been out here now for maybe 4 hours, and not one car went by on the main road down here. Not one. All right, I think we're all set. I do have to put my blanket in there. Yes, that's the last thing I have. We'll come back out for that. I'm eager to get the stove started. Yeah, it's so much nicer camping out here. We're probably 50 miles away from the nearest cell phone signal. All right, we're getting in. So this is all my cut wood right here. This pile here is stuff that needs to be sawed up, but was small enough to fit in the toboggan. Right there is my ultra fine birch bark on the top with the bigger stuff underneath. Bringing on in my blanket. I don't think it's cold enough to need a sleeping bag, honestly. So yeah, that'll be perfect. I can sit right here in the bed, mess with the fire, saw things right here. This is gonna be nice. Once I get the fire going, I can take my jacket off. Here's a time lapse of me going in and out, getting that kindling and getting the fire going. I am glad I brought this stove. I bought a stainless steel little wood stove that's half this size. I don't think I'm gonna actually like it as good when I actually use it, because a big firebox is more convenient because you can bring bigger things in there. It burns for longer, bigger cook surface. I thought this was going to be too big for the tent, but I don't see a problem with it at all. This is going to be very nice out here. Oh, yeah, the smaller ones, you got to cut everything to smaller sizes. It doesn't burn as long, and it's not the collapsible type, so you don't have the benefit of being able to put it in a backpack. It is probably half the weight of this. That's the only benefit. But to me, the extra weight is worth pulling around in the toboggan, even if I'm walking miles out. Because unless I'm going up a super steep hill, a little bit of a hill is not really a problem. Yeah, I'm not going to keep going in and out of this door. I just brought it all in at once. I want to get in here and take this bulky jacket off and shut the door. I don't think it's that cold out. 15's not horrible. I've been working, and if I keep working with this stuff, my blood's pumping. I'm good right now. Outside, meaning basically in here, right now we are at Fahrenheit about 16 or 17 degrees. We are sealed in. Time to open up the firebox. Like I was saying earlier, see, I have snow on my hand. It's sticking to the metal because it's so cold out. And if I touched it for a long time, it would actually, it feels like a burn when it freezes you that badly. All right, so here's our birch bark. Got the little tiny pieces that'll flare up really easy. Put those where the lighter can reach them. Go ahead and break all these up into tiny little pieces. Jam them in the stove. If I get soot on myself like this, I'll just wash it off with some snow once it gets hot in here. All right, everyone, it's time to start the fire up. Let's hope it goes well. Always make sure the damper's open. Birch bark burns really hot. Leave the door cracked while we start up to make sure it starts drafting up the pipe. We have a 7-foot tall smokestack on top of the stove, so it should draft in no time. Let's give it a minute to catch everything in the back. All right, there's a little bit of smoke coming out. That's because the fire's too big. It's all going out now. Not an issue. Wow, it's already getting nice and toasty in here. This is going to be a real good night. All right, we are starting to burn very hot already, and the stove is drafting perfectly. Let's get some bigger pieces of wood to throw in there. Like this guy. All right, we're gonna leave that thing shut right now while it cooks a little bit and heats up. Let's go outside and check out the smokestack. Already in here, we got the temperature up to 60 degrees. That was fast. Now, I probably shouldn't have the thermometer that high up. A concern of mine has already come true. A hole burned in the tent by a spark coming out of the chimney. I didn't do anything wrong, but it happened. I knew that would happen with such a cheap tent. It's not one of the ones that can take a spark landing on it. I can't believe that none of the negative reviews on Amazon mention that. Now, it's okay if it happens a couple times. You know, it's not going to really, that's not going to cause a big enough leak to, you know, make you freeze to death. But eventually, if you get enough of them in here, it's not going to be nice. But this thing was so cheap, even if we get half a dozen uses out of it, I feel like it's worth it. All right, we gotta go outside. Working good. We're not creating that much smoke. A lot less than I expected to come out and see. That stuff we found to burn in there was extremely dry. Had very good luck with this location. Yep. You can't really see the smoke haze because of the gray sky, but it's there. And yes, look, the sky is getting prettier. We'll have to come out in a little bit more and take a look at it. Now, here's what I do now that I got a place I can warm up in. I just grab some snow, move it around. The heat of my hands turns it to water. I can scrub off all that. Yep, all the soot's coming right off. Grab some more, let it melt. Do it a couple more times. It'll all melt off. Can go right back in there and dry my hands off. Good enough. I've been out here like 10 minutes taking pictures and stuff. So it's time to go back in now. Getting a little chilly. It's gonna be nice and warm in here. Yep. Nice and toasty. Even with the door open, what is our temperature? 80 degrees with the door open. But this is also up in the ceiling. If we move that down a little bit, it'll probably get a little cooler down here. You know, like I said before, if we were able to seal every crack here, which is not a concern to me, like seal it with snow like 100%, that would act as a cold air intake for the stove. But I like this a lot better because any little residual smoke that does come out of the firebox, there's air coming in from here and venting through that. I like that a lot better, and it also makes it not get as hot in here. So our temperature now is up to 88 degrees, but that's okay, it's cold out. I have no problem with it. I should shut this a little bit. We got another hole. I'm so glad that I just walked back out to the road. That is a beautiful view down there. Gorgeous. Have to take a picture of that. All right, walking back. It's starting to get dim out. Wow, we're pretty well hidden. Can't see any smoke over there. We're right in there. What do you think made these tracks? This. At first I thought it was maybe my snowshoes, but they're way too small. And I did not ever walk here without shoes last time. But it looks like human footprints. It might just be a coincidence. It could have been like a deer or a moose running through here, and it just got covered up that way by the wind. If you saw my last video where I was spraying water out in the negative 38 degree temperatures, you saw that I was really cold out there. Well, that's because it was windy. Right now, we've dropped back to about 10 degrees, and there's the slightest breeze. I just walked to the vehicle and back, no jacket, and I'm back now, and I'm just starting to get chilly. It's not that bad when there's no wind. Wind chill is the most dangerous thing when you're out in a place like this camping. We are burning really good and really hot. These logs are lasting longer than I thought they would, so that's good news. All right, it's time to start cooking in here now. So, let's bring our stuff over. Just gonna have something simple tonight. Broth cubes. And some spices. This is garlic, but it's mostly salt what's in there. And some oregano, I like that in my soup. Make sure any debris is out of here. Yes, it is. Put it up onto the stove. All right, we will let that heat up for a bit. When I'm way out in the middle of nowhere like this, I'm always paranoid that I'm gonna lose the key to the car. So I gotta put that in here where it's safe. When I open the fireplace in here, it produces a lot of light. Good amount of light in here. I really like this setup in here with this stove. This stove, I would say, is great for this size space. A bigger stove means you can put multiple pots on there if you wanted to. It cooks way faster than a smaller one. And this system is awesome. You see, this right here is how I'm controlling the temperature in here right now. The more I open that, the more it sucks from underneath the walls to cool it down. If I zip it up all the way, there's really nothing coming in from under the walls. You just have a small current coming through that vent. Doing good. But I did notice that this thing, I don't have to put that much firewood in because it's such a small space. It's having no issues. My last camp with this, it was a much bigger space. It was a 30-foot area in a tarp, underneath a tarp, I mean. And this thing was having trouble keeping up with that much larger space. Even though it was a lot warmer that day. That camp was like 25 degrees, not even that cold. It's already down to 8 degrees outside, and this is having zero issues at all. And see, we don't even have the firebox full all the way. It's working pretty well. All right, everyone, I've been letting it heat up in here for about 2 hours, actually. And I'm finally going to start cooking now. That water, I've had to top it off so many times because it just keeps boiling away. Well, one thing that's really cool is, look at the floor. This thing is melting all the snow underneath it. It's even dry in some places. It dried the leaves. So if you camped out here for a couple days, I bet you'd have a dry forest floor in here. It would melt everything. When I started, this thing was probably 6 inches higher at least, and it slowly went whoop, whoop, whoop. I tried to shim it as it went down, but now it doesn't matter. It's on the ground, and as it melted, it exposed this and this. Logs I didn't know were here, and now I can burn them. I didn't know this stuff was in here, because when I started, look where the floor was away from the stove. Can you see the elevation until we get to the door? That's at least 6, 8 inches, maybe more. Where that pile is underneath the bed, you can see it kind of sloping now towards it. It melted a ton of it. And here's that tree I cut down earlier. It's awesome. I just went outside to use the bathroom, and I have to show you guys when we're done eating. This thing with the bright light, it looks so cool from outside. And also there's a full moon, so if we wanted, we could go for a walk, and we can see without lights. That's so cool. I love camping when the moon is bright. There's a lot of overcast clouds tonight, but I think that's even making it kind of brighter. See this pole right here? It's not too hot to touch. It's like the perfect temperature to warm your cold hands up. I like that. And I moved the temperature over here so it would be far more accurate. Currently in here, it is about 85 degrees. Not bad. Currently outside, it's like 8. Hasn't really moved in temperature that much. But we're supposed to drop by morning. I love strong broth, so I'm going to go ahead and put 4 of them in there. That one right there, it's tasty, so I'm just occasionally tasting that. The pot is farting. Look at the temperature in here now. It's like 98 degrees. Gotta drink plenty of water because it's so hot in here. Alright everyone, it's time to pour some of this in. I'm probably going to eat most of this throughout the night. I'm just going to keep doing little batches of it as snacks as I get hungry. Alright, that's a good amount. I just put like half the box in there. I just got to keep stirring that, and we'll add some spices. I have to crack this. It is getting too hot in here. It's lower than it just was, but still, it's pretty hot. So let's just crack that a little bit, and that makes a big difference. Ooh, got garlic in my nose. It doesn't close very well, does it? And some oregano. It's 8 o'clock, and at 11, there's a chance of a snow squall, but only a 33% chance. What do you guys think? Are we going to get it? Maybe. That'll be kind of cool. Now, this is entertainment. It'll be completely vaporized in like another 20 seconds. All right, we only got 2 more pieces of usable wood before I gotta start sawing some up. Almost done. I like it a little hard. I'm gonna take it off. Let that cool down a little bit so I can eat it. Just gonna put it right into the snow. That'll cool it down fast, the pot. I was wondering what that burnt smell was about 20 minutes ago. I'm too impatient to wait for it to cool, so I put it up there. Wait for the broth to drain out of it. Then it'll be cool in like 30 seconds. All right, that was good. Gonna put it back on the stove, add some water, add some more broth. Then we're gonna have more soup in like another half hour or so. Good, it'll fit in there if I just cut it in half. The piece of wood that we melted out of the floor, get that in the fire now. Looks like we have another one underneath the stove. I don't know if we can get that yet. We've got to wait for more to unfreeze. Here's another one to cut in half. It almost fits by 2 inches. Told you guys it was gonna snow. I hear it on the roof. But it's only like 9 o'clock. It came really early. Yeah, let's go outside and look at that while we're waiting for more soup. Before I show you the snow, I want to leave the light in here, and I want to show you how cool it looks from outside. I can literally walk around out here. The moon is so bright. Doesn't that look cool? That is awesome. Let me back up even more to show you. That is so cool. All right. It's barely snowing. It's probably going to pick up probably around the time they said, but when you're inside a tent, just these tiny little flakes, it sounds so loud. All right, we're going to start feeding one of these logs into my camp so I can start cutting it. I'm not going to use this piece because that's like my worst piece right there. So yeah, let's feed this in. My idea was to feed it underneath somehow, but it might be a little bit too much tension, so I think I'm just going to work on cutting it up one piece at a time, get the whole thing done. Oh wow, we can actually fit the whole thing inside there. Cool, I can shut the door and put that stick in there. We can use that. I don't think it's going to snow much, so I'm not really going to worry about... Oh, I sunk deep. Not really going to worry about any of my stuff. We're creating a good bit of smoke right now. It's so peaceful out. Absolutely silent this far out in the woods. Because when you get late at night, there's not many people who are going to be on a snowmobile at this hour. The color of the tent looks absolutely awesome at night. Now, I just want to tell you guys, because I don't want you to judge the tent for this. The only issue with this tent so far are the couple of embers we're able to burn holes in it. Now, this is not the tent's fault. The tent accidentally touched the pipe because I was unable to tension it properly on this side. Instead of putting a piece of wood in there with still a bunch of snow on it, because that's kind of hard to rub off, it's mostly ice if you can see that, I'm going to try defrosting it before it goes in. I think that worked well, but you really have to watch it. I think a better option than this would be just to put them, slide them underneath the stove so it can radiate all this heat that it melted the ground with. That's a much better idea, I think. So I'm going to put those underneath the stove. Putting the wood underneath is working awesome. Check that out. It's steaming real well. And this tent is awesome. That vent up top literally keeps it from getting too hot. If that vent wasn't there, where my head is right now, up inside here, it'd be boiling. But we've been keeping a good temperature. Right now it's about 78. It only gets up near 100 if I have the thing shut like I do, and I have this thing going full blast, which it's about to start going full blast again for the stove. But when you're not cooking, just let it calm down, and it'll keep it a real good 60, 70 degrees. Okay, I'm very hungry, so I'm gonna cook the other half of this. Yep. How many servings is that I'm eating? 8 servings. Not enough room. Is there? Yeah, there is. Put that box in there. That is blasting so much heat. We got to kind of snuff that a little bit. Wow, we just climbed like 10 degrees in 2 minutes. If you're looking for an inexpensive hot tent, this stove and this tent go perfectly together as long as they're set up nice. This tent was 90 bucks. That stove right there, I got it when it was around 100, but now it's going for about 140. Still stirring it. Let's see if that's good enough for me. Yep, just about perfect. It'll soften up a tiny bit more when I get it off of here. Put in a tiny little shim, and my food can just sit there and cool a little bit before I eat. The thermometer right now is reading 105 degrees, the hottest it's been so far that I've noticed. I think it was hotter before. It probably was. I just turned the stove down, and it's been cooling down. This soup is very good. I really like eating this. I've been leaving my water over here where the cold air is coming in. It's turning into a slushie. Take a look at that noodle now after an hour. I just finished every last piece except the one that's burning on the stove. I'm filling my pan back up with snow so I can clean it out. It's snack time before bed. That snow really did not fill the pot a lot, but once that heats up, I'm going to wipe it out with a paper towel, and then we'll be done for the night. Now that the snow is really melting in here, there's a lot of rabbit poops on the ground. I just realized this wood I'm burning It may only be 2 inches in diameter, but look how old it is. I counted it, and this is about 40 years old, and they log about every 40 years. So this is something they planted, and I think they were planted too tightly together, so it grew really slowly. All right, everyone, it's 11:30, and it never snowed any more than those couple of flakes you saw earlier. Now, I am going to go outside because I want to get my 2nd gallon of water because I'm just about done with this one. Look at this. It's turned into an actual slushie. That's so awesome because the air outside now, we have now got down to a goose egg, 0 degrees. And it's still going to drop by morning, down a couple of degrees into the negatives. Look at this. The air coming under here is so cold, it's keeping that freezing. But inside here, because this air is basically just kind of sticking around on the floor, so I'm not feeling it. My toes don't hurt. I'm not cold or anything. Right now, we got 89 degrees. It's pretty nice in here. If I lay down, it's actually a little too hot, even this close to the floor. So before I go to bed, I'm going to shut these, snuff it out a little bit, and that'll be better for at night because it'll burn slowly, be efficient. I have 3 more long strips of wood out there. I don't need to cut any of that. I'm not even confident I'm going to use what's in here because I'm about to go to bed in a half hour. And I got these 3 big logs I just cut. I haven't even used the wood I bought. I used 1 piece of it. And there's 2 big logs back there. I have that if I want to cut it into a few pieces. So I'm going to stuff this thing as much as I can before bed. And that's about it. When I wake up, I'm not making coffee or anything. I'm going to start cleaning up after I have my breakfast shake, and then I'm going to get on the road. This tent is awesome because I am used to building my own shelters out of tarps, and they're very leaky. So I'm being very inefficient. It takes a lot of wood to heat it. This, I don't even have to have a big fire in there. You see, it's barely doing anything, but it's producing so much heat because the heat's not leaving except through that tiny little vent. I love it so much. All right, I just stuffed it with more wood. Whatever will fit in here before bed, I'll throw in. We are burning so hot right now. Burning very clean. Take a look at this. Look at all the ice. There's even little icicles over here. There's only moisture right here because the blanket was blocking this from the heat evaporating it. When you have a wood stove in a place like this, when it's cold, this is called dry heat. So it sucks up any moisture in here. If you were using like a propane little buddy heater, it would cause ice secretion all over the walls because it's creating humidity as it burns. Can you hear that noise? It started snowing again. It's about 1 in the morning, and I'm gonna put some more wood in the stove and get some sleep. So I let this thing calm down for like an hour. Haven't touched it at all. Been running it on pretty high. So now we gotta break this stuff up, move around all the coals in there, spread them out pretty evenly, and then we can throw more firewood in. These big logs will keep me warm for the rest of the night. Just fit. It's 5 in the morning, and I just woke up. The floor has melted a lot more, and I'm not done sleeping. I'm going to try to get more sleep, but I just woke up to this obnoxious smell and smoke in here. You know what it is? I had this thing on a low burn, and it's definitely not pine, and the only stuff I'm burning that's not pine is what I bought. And I can tell you what I bought is definitely not seasoned. It's the grossest stuff ever for firewood. It created so much creosote right there. See that? It's dribbling back down the pipe. And it came out all over right here. Look at that. And it's burning. It's so nasty. But I guess, hey, I was going to do that experiment where I try a creosote burning log. So I guess that's the only good out of it. It really messed up the inside of the stove. What does it look like in there? I haven't opened it in a while. Yeah, those have barely burned, and they've been in there for like 3 hours compared to the pine. That's not seasoned firewood. That's really gross. And remember, I told you that was expensive? It was $7 for that tiny little bundle. Pine out that I found out here is so much better and seasoned than that garbage. I just had a little bit of this breakfast shake, and it's a milkshake. You can't hear it, but it's like absolute slush. It's really good. All right, so this piece of firewood, the one piece I have remaining, I jammed underneath my mattress to straighten out the bed, because you can see how this thing is drying out the floor really nice, melting the snow. Well, it's left me with, between this side of the bed and this side of the bed, a 4-inch difference. And this actually helps straighten out the bed. It worked perfectly. If I camped in here for more than a day, this entire floor would be nice, dry leaves. It would be very nice. But I gotta tell you, this is the worst firewood I've ever bought, and I never want to rely on someone else for my firewood ever again. I switched to totally heating at home with firewood, and I'm processing all my own stuff, so I know exactly when it's seasoned. What is burning right there all over, just by the smoke that I'm smelling, it's not pine. Creating that creosote. Creosote happens when the firewood you burn is extremely wet. The condensation builds up in the chimney during low fire. Like, I had that damper almost completely shut so it could burn really slowly throughout the night, but then I wake up to creosote dripping all over the place, smoking and stinking. It's so disgusting, the smell that's making. This firewood is clearly not seasoned. I assumed when I bought it, it was kiln dried. You know, it's dried commercially. That's what I assumed to be buying, because I didn't buy this from some guy on the side of the road like a lot of people around here sell firewood. No, this came from a grocery store, and a lot of other people are buying this overpriced garbage. That was a tiny bundle for $7. I can get a bigger bundle than that, probably much better quality, for like $3. I only bought that because I saw it and thought, hey, maybe this would help. But no, there's plenty of firewood out here. That was the biggest mistake I ever made because it interrupted my sleep. Here is proof that that wood is not seasoned. Every single other piece of wood in there has burned, except this. And the end of it is sizzling, dripping that nasty creosote, the same stuff in the chimney, and it's steaming, meaning it's full of moisture. Why is a grocery store selling firewood that's not ready to burn? Check it out, everyone. It's now 5:45 in the morning. Sun is starting to come up. I don't think I'm going back to bed. I'm gonna have some of these strawberries, and I'm just playing with some of this kindling that doesn't burn long. Just waiting for the stove to cool down, and I'm gonna start cleaning up camp. This should be cooled down enough in the next hour to start taking apart the pipes, then I can pick it up by the legs and dump it outside. I love these freeze-dried strawberries from the Dollar Tree. I can tell just by how the stove is running that when I go out in the morning, I'm gonna find... That's kind of gross. Look at that. Also, do you see, we did get some snow. The snow probably mixed with it. Got a good dusting of snow. Look at this, we got a friend here. It's that same tree I said last night was infested with bugs. Woodpecker. It's just silence out here. You don't hear a single thing except different types of birds. It's completely still, zero wind, not a single car or anything in the background. You hear nothing running. It's extremely quiet. So for the past hour, I've been vigorously going through here, moving this around. Any big embers I've been kind of chopping up so they burn faster. And now you see, not much of it's glowing anymore. The stove is now pretty cool. I can definitely pick it up now from the bottom and dump it outside. The pipes are now all cold enough. I can leave my hand in there indefinitely. That means I can take this whole thing apart, bring the stove outside, dump it out into a snowbank, and then I can start picking up camp. I just started a brief fire with the stuff on the ground. That will cool down super quick. I'm trying to get rid of the smell. I cannot get rid of that gross smell of that firewood. Alright everyone, it's pretty chilly out, so we're gonna go in and start cleaning up camp. It's not as cold as I thought it would be this morning. The coldest I actually saw last night was 0 degrees, and it probably got a little colder, but I wasn't checking the temperature. Right now it's about 12 out, not the worst. The temperature rose fast. It's already 10 o'clock. It's just a cloudy day. It's not going to get sunny. As soon as I start moving around, I will heat right back up. All right, everyone, here's the stove, and it's still hot. Still hot. Let's open it up so we can dump it out. Now this thing will cool down in like 10 minutes. We'll put the pipes in it, put in the toboggan. all packed up. All right, that stove is now just about cold to the touch. All right, everyone, we got everything here cleaned up. You can see how much the fire melted. That circle would have just kept expanding until the whole floor was melted if we stayed here a couple nights. So that went pretty well. Can't really complain. Also, I think this may actually work. I may get away with only doing one trip because each trip to the vehicle is a 20-minute round trip. I may save myself 20 minutes. Look at this. I realized I don't need a hitch to pull the other one, although maybe I should put a hitch at some point. I have a 46-pound weight right there. This thing, you see how I carry it on its side because you can't lay it down. The top is too big, but the legs are a little tapered so they fit down there. I just put the handle of this one around its legs, and we don't have any steep hills to go up. I made sure everything heavy's in the front, and the back is just pillow, sleeping bag, blanket, tarp, lights, things. So I think I might be able to pull this whole thing out of here at once. Now, the mattress is going to be on the front. I think I can just balance it on there. It's pretty flat on the way out. Next time I'll just bring 2 bungee cords. That would solve that whole concern. But I don't see how this won't work. I am confident that this is going to go well. And for the next camping trip out here, I'm going to need another pair of snowshoes because this is starting to break here. Yeah. This whole thing is made out of plastic parts and aluminum, so it's not the easiest thing to fix. I can tell those were inexpensive when they were purchased, and I can get another pair of these for not too much. Alrighty, let's see if this train works. Alright, so far so good, it appears. I think this is gonna work. I have to move slower, but it beats making 2 trips. Alright everyone, I'm back to the vehicle. How would you like to see some chaos as it comes down the hill? I bet this whole thing is going to fall apart. But that's okay because we are going to have to take everything out to get it back in the car anyways. Remember, my hatchback's broken. These things, I'd be able to just pick them up and slide them right in. That's a bummer, but maybe next time I'll get it fixed. Wow, it actually stayed together. I'm surprised. The only thing that came off was the mattress. Amazing. That's epic. Yeah, you see how everything fits in the car and how this works perfectly if I could just slide them out the back. Wow, this log truck is huge. Look at that. They're able to overload them in the winter because the roads are frozen. Otherwise, in the summertime, they would sink so deep into the ground. Did you see how that thing was loaded? That's got to weigh like 200,000 pounds. That was awesome. Here comes another log truck. This one is not even overloaded. Those are some big logs. That looked like white pine. Wow, another one. Here's another one that's overloaded. Not nearly as big as the first one, though. That was a cool orange truck. This area is ridiculous. There's so many trees. You see on the edge all the trees they had to cut out of the road? And there's so many that are tipped over in the forest. See all the ones here leaning over the road? There was some pretty big ones back there leaning over the road too. You see there's hundreds of them down. This road literally would have been impassable a few days ago, like I mentioned. So far I've seen a couple gigantic blowdowns of probably a few acres at a time. Here's another big mess of trees. Yep, here's another blowdown. You see this? Every single tree just got sheared over on its side. Look at this. Every single tree just fell over into the road. Hundreds of them, hundreds of them. And what you can't see back there off to the side is that goes back hundreds of feet. So many trees fell over. And they're not chainsawing them. It looks like they brought some piece of heavy machinery to just smash through them. But I don't see the debris on the ground. What do they do with most of them? Maybe they log chipped them or salvaged some of them. Yeah, here's another big blowdown. Yeah. And this is all I've seen so far. They probably lost hundreds of acres, probably more. You know, it makes perfect sense to me now why so many trees came down. We had temperatures where I live that hit about -38. This is hours north, so I'm sure they were much colder, well into the -40s. The trees froze solid and were so brittle, I bet the whipping winds just knocked them all over and they just broke like pencils. Check out this grader plowing the road. That's really cool. Alright everyone, I hope today's video was interesting. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.